There's a moment at the very start of God of War 2018 that tells you almost everything you need to know about Kratos. Kratos and Atreus are hunting a deer. Atreus hesitates and his hands shake like a kid. This mirrors a scene that comes a bit later, when Atreus makes his first kill, when he kills a human. Kratos doesn't really confront him, he just says, "Close your heart to it."
Close your heart to it.
Atreus does, or at least tries to, in a very childish way. That line really is about survival, about how Kratos understands this world. Because Kratos comes from a place where empathy gets you killed, where feeling too much costs you everything. At the start of this game, Kratos believes that to be a father means teaching your son how not to feel. You can really understand this if you know his background, doing a god's bidding, and he knows that sinking feeling every time he wakes up in the morning. He doesn't want his son to be like he is. By the time we meet Kratos in Midgard, he's already lived 1,000 lifetimes of violence. He's killed gods, entire pantheons essentially, when he wraps his arms in bandages to hide his past, to hide the blades of chaos. When he refuses to tell Atreus who he really is, it's regret. Kratos isn't proud about being the Ghost of Sparta. It's quite funny because the word ghost implies haunting. He is the man who's being haunted by his own past. When he moves to Midgard with Faye, it's an attempt at something he's never had before. A quiet life, a life where his hands don't have to be stained with blood every day. He's a tired man who doesn't want to feel violence again. He knows the cost of war. Faye represents something radically different for Kratos, restraint. And when she dies at the beginning of the game, he is grieving his wife in the best way he can. Faye was the person who understood him without fear. But his fatherhood, his relationship with Atreus is the heart of this game. Truly, Kratos doesn't know how to be a father, and that's the point. He knows how to train a soldier, that's how he was raised. How to be a hardened warrior, that's what kept him alive. But raising a child, it's something different, something really alien to him. And he's terrified of that. He's terrified that Atreus will inherit his rage, and Atreus will suffer the same fate he did. That's why Kratos is so distant, why he corrects instead of comforts. Praise is rare, and affection feels something painful for a man like him. Because if Atreus doesn't need him emotionally, then maybe Kratos can't fail him the way he failed everyone else. Masculinity for Kratos is armor. There's a line Kratos repeats that people often misunderstand. Don't be sorry, be better. On the surface it sounds harsh, cold. Kratos is telling Atreus that regret without change is meaningless. This is a man who knows exactly what it means to be sorry too late. Kratos has cried enough tears to drown worlds. They didn't really fix anything. So when he pushes Atreus to improve instead of apologize, he's trying to spare him that fate. This is masculinity shaped by consequence, responsibility, in many ways. The most important confession Kratos ever makes happens on the boat. On the surface, it's just the father and the son having a conversation, and Kratos finally tells Atreus the truth, that he's a god and he himself has killed gods. And listen closely to what he says.
I'm a god, boy. From another land far from here. When I came to these shores, I chose to live as a man. But the truth is, I was born a god. And so were you. I had hoped to spare you. Being a god, it can be a lifetime of anguish and tragedy.
There's no pride in his voice, only sadness and acceptance. Kratos owns what he did. That's what separates him from the gods he killed. And that moment is the clearest expression of his masculinity in the entire series. Honesty. One of the most misunderstood things about Kratos in the Norse saga is this. Really, if you look closely at the beginning of both games, he doesn't want to fight. When Baldur arrives, Kratos avoids conflict until there's no other choice.
You do not want this fight.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I do.
When Odin and Thor come knocking, Kratos offers peace.
You follow me?
Kratos knows exactly what war brings. He's lived through the aftermath. He wants Atreus to grow up without becoming a weapon, and without inheriting a legacy soaked in blood. He hides the truth from him for so long.
When you saw...
I didn't see anything.
Because he doesn't trust himself, really. He doesn't trust that if Atreus embraces godhood too early, he'll lose himself in the same way Kratos once did. And maybe deep down, Kratos knows that a god killer doesn't get to live peacefully forever, but a father can still try. By God of War Ragnarok, Kratos has changed. He's become a gentler warrior, but he's still a badass who can kill everyone with just a look. That's his charm. That's what separates him from every other protagonist in today's games. And I'm afraid we won't get another Kratos anytime soon. And we really see it in the memories of Faye, in the way he speaks to Atreus, the way he listens.
To grieve deeply is to have loved fully.
He now controls his strength. It's something of a restraint that brewed inside him, similar to Geralt. Masculinity in Ragnarok is about guiding Atreus forward in his path to becoming a god. He's really the support if you think about it in that game. Kratos allows himself to feel fear, something he is not really comfortable feeling, and love. He becomes something rare, a warrior who chooses restraint because he understands what happens when he doesn't. And this ties Kratos' arc in both games. Open your heart to it.
I was wrong, Atreus. Open your heart. Open your heart to their suffering.
At the end of the journey, Kratos says something unthinkable to the man he used to be. Open your heart to it. Open your heart to the suffering you cause. It's empathy and growth. Kratos learns that closing your heart might keep you alive, but it also keeps you alone. He learns that strength without empathy creates monsters, and that protecting your child doesn't mean hardening them against the world, and more about how to teach Atreus how to not lose himself in the process. He grew from a monster, a killing machine basically, to someone who all men can aspire to be. Everyone in this world isn't perfect, and Kratos is the best example of that. He's still capable of destruction, but there's a glimmer of restraint there now. This makes him 1,000 times more interesting as a protagonist. His masculinity is about choosing to be better, even when the past won't let go. In that way, he mirrors characters like Geralt of Rivia, men shaped by violence who learn that restraint is the best kind of masculinity. When you know you can kill everyone in that room, but you choose not to. Choosing the way of peace until the very end, until you have no other choice. Kratos carries his past like a badge now, and that is what makes him a man worth watching. He once believed the only way to survive was to close your heart. By the end of the story, he understands something far harder, that opening it is what makes survival meaningful. Empathy.
Atreus. Atreus remains.
Even the most broken man can choose to change himself. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to boop the like button.